The training knife sliced through her uniform from collar to waist. 3 Marines laughed as the fabric split open. The youngest one, barely 24, kept cutting while his sergeant held her shoulders. "Much better fit," he whispered. "More comfortable, right?" She didn't scream, didn't beg, just said 5 words that would haunt them forever. "Last warning, step back." They laughed harder. 3 seconds later, all 3 were on the ground, bones broken, careers destroyed, and the woman they thought was a helpless IT contractor was holding credentials that made their commanding officer go pale. If you want to see how a 26-year-old Navy SEAL sniper brought down an entire network of predators, subscribe to this channel and watch until the end. Drop a comment telling me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The compound materialized through green haze like a nightmare taking shape. Lieutenant Maya Reinhardt held her breath, calculated wind speed at 12 knots northeast, and squeezed her trigger 3 times in rapid succession. 3 bodies dropped before the sound reached them. The 4th sentry turned confused, seeking a threat he would never identify. She dropped him with a headshot at 420 meters, while his hand was still reaching for his radio. Clean, professional, silent. "Phantom, you are cleared hot. HVT is yours." She didn't respond. Words wasted breath. The high-value target was in the southeast building, 3rd floor, 2nd window from the left. She'd memorized the layout 6 days ago. In her world, memorization meant survival. Hesitation meant death. Maya moved through the Yemeni darkness like smoke through shadows. 26 years old. 47 confirmed kills that would never appear in any official record. The youngest female operator in SEAL Team 6 history. They called her Phantom, not because she was invisible, but because she left nothing behind except silence and the permanent absence of very dangerous men. The extraction took 9 minutes. The target never saw her face. By sunrise, she was 30,000 feet over the Mediterranean, staring at her reflection in an aircraft window and wondering when the woman looking back had become a stranger. That was 6 months ago. Tonight, Maya wasn't in Yemen. She was standing in a cheap motel room outside Camp Pendleton, California, staring at a manila folder with a red stripe across the top. Classification level top secret. Operation name Clean Sweep. Mission objective. Identify and neutralize intelligence leak responsible for deaths of 8 United States Marines. She'd read it 4 times. Each time the words felt heavier. Camp Pendleton. The place where everything had started. The place where everything had almost ended 3 years ago. Maya set the folder down and looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. No tactical gear, no night vision, no suppressed rifle. Just a woman in a plain gray shirt and utility pants, civilian clothes that felt wrong against her skin. Tomorrow she would become Sarah Mitchell. Cybersecurity analyst. Civilian contractor conducting a routine IT security audit. Boring. Forgettable. Exactly the kind of person powerful men ignored while she documented everything they wanted to hide. But tonight, she was still Maya Reinhardt. And tonight, the memories wouldn't stay buried. 3 years ago, she'd been a different person. 23 years old. Fresh out of basic underwater demolition training. Hungry to prove herself in a world that didn't want to make space for her. She'd arrived at Camp Pendleton for advanced combat training with fire in her chest and determination in every step. She was going to be the best. She was going to earn respect through skill and dedication and sheer force of will. 3 months later, she was standing on a rooftop at 3 in the morning, looking down at concrete 4 stories below, wondering if jumping would hurt less than continuing to breathe. The memory hit her like a physical blow. The equipment corridor, 3 instructors, Sergeant Marcus Cole, who smiled like a predator, Corporal Danny Hayes, who always watched too long, PFC Travis Webb, who laughed at everything Cole said, hands that grabbed, words that degraded, an assault that left no visible marks but shattered something fundamental inside her. Maya's fingers tightened on the edge of the sink. She'd reported it, filed the paperwork, sat across from a chaplain who suggested she pray about forgiveness, faced a review board that looked at her with suspicion and asked questions about what she'd been wearing. Were you drinking that night? Did you give them any indication you were interested? Are you certain this wasn't a misunderstanding? In the end, they'd done nothing. Called it a miscommunication, suggested peer counseling, recommended she consider whether military service was really the right fit for her personality type. She'd walked out of that final meeting and gone straight to the roof. 4 stories, concrete below. An end to the shame and anger and helplessness eating her alive. But she hadn't jumped. Master Sergeant William Thornton found her there. Everyone called him Bull, a Gulf War legend with more combat decorations than most of the base combined. He taught advanced reconnaissance tactics with quiet intensity that made even the cockiest recruits shut up and listen. He wasn't one of the 3. He hadn't been in that corridor. But somehow he knew. Bull didn't try to talk her down, didn't offer empty words about time healing all wounds. He just stood beside her in the darkness, hands in his pockets, looking out at the same stars she was using to avoid looking at the ground. Don't let cowards write your story. 7 words, delivered in a voice that carried the weight of someone who'd seen too much and survived anyway. Then he walked away. No dramatic rescue, no forced intervention. Just 7 words and the sound of his boots on concrete. Maya stepped back from the edge. Not because she suddenly felt better, not because the pain disappeared, but because somewhere in those 7 words she heard a challenge, a dare, a suggestion that survival itself could be an act of defiance. 2 weeks later, Bull pulled her aside after training. His face was unreadable. His voice was low enough that no one else could hear. I'm giving you a choice, Reinhardt. You can stay here and fight a battle you can't win against a system designed to protect the men who hurt you. Or you can transfer to a different program, one that will turn you into something they can't ignore. He handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a transfer order to SEAL assessment and selection, signed by someone so high up the chain of command that no one would dare question it. Beneath the transfer order was a handwritten note on plain paper. 3 years. Justice is slow, but it's coming. Stay alive. Become lethal. Make them regret underestimating you. Maya looked at him. Why are you doing this? Because I've watched good soldiers break under the weight of things they shouldn't have to carry. Because the system failed you and someone needs to fix that. And because those 3 think they got away with it. Bull's eyes were cold, certain. They're wrong. You can't take on 3 senior instructors. They'll destroy your career. Let me worry about my career. You worry about becoming the most dangerous person in any room you walk into. She'd transferred. She'd stayed alive. She'd become dangerous. And 3 years later, Sergeant Marcus Cole Corporal Danny Hayes and PFC Travis Webb had been quietly court-martialed and dishonorably discharged. No press releases, no public acknowledgement, just justice delivered slowly and precisely by a master sergeant who'd spent 3 years building an unassailable case. Maya never asked Bull why he'd done it, never questioned what motivated him to fight a battle that wasn't his own. She just took the lesson. Strength wasn't about being louder or bigger or more aggressive than the enemy. Strength was about being precise, patient, prepared, dumb. Now standing in this motel room, Maya understood why she'd volunteered for this mission the moment she saw Camp Pendleton in the briefing file. Someone on this base was selling American lives to the enemy. 3 weeks ago, a patrol had been ambushed in Syria. 8 Marines killed. Intelligence suggested ISIS-affiliated cells had known their exact route, their timing, their operational strength. The leak had been traced back to Camp Pendleton. The official investigation had stalled. Too many officers involved, too many careers at risk, too much potential embarrassment if the story went public. So SOCOM made a different choice. Send someone expendable. Someone with authorization to operate outside normal channels. Someone who could investigate without oversight, without fingerprints, without mercy. Send a ghost. Maya opened the folder one more time and read the names of the 8 Marines who died in that ambush. Private First Class Marcus Webb, 20 years old. First deployment. Lance Corporal Jennifer Okafor, 23, mother of a 2-year-old daughter. Sergeant David Kim, 29, 2 weeks from completing his service. 8 names, 8 families destroyed, 8 flag-draped coffins that had been loaded onto planes and flown home to people who would never understand why their loved ones had died. Someone on this base had made that happen. Someone had traded American blood for money, and Maya was going to find them. She arrived at Camp Pendleton's main gate at exactly 0800. Same guard shack she remembered. Same concrete barriers. Same American flag snapping in the morning wind against a California sky that couldn't decide between blue and gray. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. 15 months of operating in hostile territory across 4 continents. 47 confirmed kills. She'd faced down warlords and terrorists without flinching, but sitting here waiting to pass through this gate, her heart rate was elevated. Her breathing was shallow. Her body was reacting to a threat that existed only in memory. 4 counts in. Hold. 4 counts out. Hold. Basic stress management, something every operator learned in week 1. The guard approached her window. Young, maybe 22. Fresh uniform, professional demeanor. Identification and authorization, ma'am. She handed him the folder without speaking. Sarah Mitchell, cybersecurity analyst. Here to conduct routine IT security evaluation. He scanned the documents, checked his tablet, nodded. You're cleared to proceed to Building 7, ma'am. Visitor parking is on the west side. Lieutenant Dawson will meet you there. Thank you. Her voice sounded normal. Calm. Gave nothing away. The guard raised the barrier. Maya drove onto the base and felt the past wrap around her like water closing over someone's head. The buildings looked different. New paint, updated signage, security cameras at regular intervals. But the bones were the same. She could still navigate this place with her eyes closed if she needed to. Muscle memory etched into her brain 3 years ago, never forgotten, just buried beneath layers of new skills and different missions. She parked in the visitor lot and watched the base wake up around her. Personnel moving between buildings, training formations assembling in the distance, the rhythmic cadence of drill sergeants calling out commands. It was all exactly as she remembered, familiar and foreign at the same time. At exactly 0800, a woman in Marine Corps uniform approached the car. Late 20s, dark hair pulled into a regulation bun, lieutenant's bars on her collar. She moved with the confidence of someone who'd earned her position but carried tension in her shoulders that suggested she wasn't entirely comfortable with her current assignment. Maya got out of the car and extended her hand. Lieutenant Dawson. Yes, ma'am. Rachel Dawson. You must be Sarah Mitchell. They shook hands. Professional. Brief. But Maya noticed the lieutenant's grip was firm without being aggressive, and her eyes did a quick tactical assessment that suggested she had more field experience than her age would indicate. Good. Maya preferred working with competent personnel. Welcome to Camp Pendleton, Rachel said. Admiral Calloway sends his apologies for not greeting you personally. He's dealing with operational issues this morning. I'll be your primary liaison for the security assessment. I appreciate your time, Lieutenant. Rachel, please. No need for formality during administrative evaluations. Maya filed that away. First-name basis, this quickly meant either genuine friendliness or an attempt to establish a casual dynamic that would make the contractor feel comfortable and therefore less observant. Either way, interesting. They walked toward Building 7 together. The morning sun was climbing higher, burning off the last of the coastal fog. Around them, the base hummed with activity, personnel moving with purpose, vehicles rolling past, the distant sound of weapons fire from the range carried on the wind. Have you worked on military installations before? Rachel asked. Several, mostly overseas deployments. This is my first stateside assignment in a while. How long have you been in cybersecurity? Long enough to know that information security is where wars are won or lost. You can have the best trained soldiers in the world, but if your communications are compromised, you're just sending targets to the enemy. Rachel glanced at her. Something shifted in her expression. That's a more tactical understanding than most IT analysts I've met. Maya shrugged. I pay attention. They entered Building 7 through the main entrance. Inside was what she expected. Administrative offices, conference rooms, the distinctive smell of military bureaucracy mixed with industrial floor cleaner and burnt coffee. Rachel led her down a corridor to a small office that had been set up as a temporary workspace. Desk, computer, filing cabinet, phone. Everything necessary for someone conducting a thorough but ultimately meaningless review of IT protocols. You'll have access to network logs, security records, and personnel files relevant to information systems, Rachel said. If you need anything else, my extension is posted on the phone. Admiral Calloway has authorized full cooperation with your assessment. Thank you. Rachel hesitated at the door. Her weight shifted. Something she wanted to say but wasn't sure if she should. Maya waited. Ms. Mitchell. Sarah, can I ask you something off the record? Of course. Rachel lowered her voice. Why are you really here? Maya kept her expression neutral. I'm here to evaluate your cybersecurity protocols. Standard contractor work. Right. Rachel's eyes held hers for a long moment. It's just, we've never had a security assessment before. Not like this. Not with someone who asks questions the way you're going to ask them. What kind of questions am I going to ask? The kind that make certain people uncomfortable. Maya said nothing. Let the silence do the work. Rachel took a breath. There are things happening on this base that don't add up. Personnel transfers that don't make sense. Communications that go through channels they shouldn't. Equipment that disappears from inventory and reappears somewhere else. She paused. I've tried to report some of it through official channels. Nothing happened. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been watching you since you drove through the gate. The way you move, the way you observe everything. The way you asked about tactical understanding of information security. Rachel's voice dropped even lower. You're not just an IT contractor, are you? Maya considered her options. Maintain cover. Dismiss the lieutenant's suspicions. Continue operating in the shadows, or take a calculated risk. What happened when you tried to report through official channels? Rachel's jaw tightened. My sister happened. Your sister? She was stationed here 2 years ago. She saw something she shouldn't have seen. Started asking questions. Started documenting irregularities. Rachel's hands clenched at her sides. 3 months later, she was transferred to a posting in the middle of nowhere. Her security clearance was revoked. Her career was effectively destroyed. What did she see? I don't know. She won't tell me. She's too scared to talk about it even now. Rachel's eyes glistened, but her voice stayed steady. But I know it had something to do with Staff Sergeant Derek Vance and his Special Logistics Unit. Maya felt her focus sharpen. Tell me about Vance. Staff Sergeant Derek Vance. 34 years old. Former CIA contractor who'd transitioned to military service 6 years ago. On paper, he ran special logistics coordination for base operations. In practice, according to Rachel, he controlled access to classified deployment schedules, patrol routes, and intelligence briefings for units rotating through Camp Pendleton. He has connections everywhere, Rachel said. Officers who owe him favors, enlisted personnel who are scared of him, a network of people who look the other way when things don't add up. What kind of things? Encrypted communications on personal devices during operational briefings, after-hours meetings in restricted areas, cash deposits that don't match military pay grades. Rachel paused. And the harassment. Maya's stomach tightened. What harassment? Female personnel who get too close to whatever he's doing. They get targeted, isolated, broken down until they either transfer out or stop asking questions. Rachel's voice was bitter. 3 women in the past year alone. One of them attempted suicide. The pattern was familiar. Terrifyingly, sickeningly familiar. Why hasn't anyone stopped him? Because he's protected. Admiral Calloway treats him like a golden boy. Every complaint gets buried. Every investigation gets closed. Rachel looked at her directly. That's why I'm telling you this. Because I don't think you're really here to evaluate our firewalls. I think you're here to find the rot that's killing this base. Maya made her decision. I'm going to need everything you have on Vance. Every document, every suspicion, every name connected to his operation. Who are you? Someone who's very good at cleaning house. That night, Maya spread Rachel's documents across her motel room bed. Personnel files, financial records, communication logs, transfer orders for the women who'd been pushed out, and photographs. Staff Sergeant Derek Vance, hard eyes, confident smile, the kind of man who'd learned to wear authority like a costume while something darker festered underneath. Gunnery Sergeant Ray Morrison, Vance's enforcer, built like a tank, disciplinary file full of complaints that had been mysteriously resolved without consequences. Corporal Kyle Chen, the youngest, newest addition to Vance's unit, something in his eyes that looked less like loyalty and more like fear. Maya stared at their faces for a long time. She'd seen this configuration before. The predator, the enforcer, the reluctant accomplice. 3 years ago, different names, different faces, same pattern. She picked up her secure phone and dialed a number she hadn't used in 18 months. 2 rings, then a familiar voice. "Didn't expect to hear from you, Reinhardt. I need a favor, Bull." William Thornton, now working as Senior Tactical Advisor for SOCOM Training Reform, was quiet for a moment. "What kind of favor?" "The kind that involves digging into a staff sergeant named Derek Vance and finding out if his special logistics operation is actually a cover for selling classified intelligence to the enemy." Silence on the line. Then, "This connected to the Syria ambush." "I think so. 8 Marines dead. Someone here sold their patrol route. And you're going to find out who." "That's the mission." Bull's voice hardened. "What do you need from me?" "Access to classified financial records, communication intercepts, anything that connects Vance to external contacts who might be buying what he's selling." "That's going to take time." "I've got time. I'm supposed to be conducting an IT security evaluation. Nobody expects that to be finished in a week." "Hey. And if you're right about Vance, if he's the leak..." Maya looked at the photographs spread across her bed, the smiling predator, the brutal enforcer, the frightened accomplice. "Then I'm going to make sure he never sells another American life. Be careful, Maya. Men like Vance don't survive this long without protection from very high places." "I know. And this base, it's personal for you. Don't let that cloud your judgment." "It won't." Bull paused. 3 years ago, I made you a promise. I told you justice was slow but coming. I kept that promise. I know you did. Now you're making the same promise to 8 dead Marines and their families. You ready to keep it?" Maya looked at the names she'd written on a notepad. 8 names. 8 lives sold for money. "Yes." "Then go hunting Phantom. Find the rot. Expose it to daylight. And when you do, make sure there's nowhere left for them to hide." She ended the call and looked at her reflection in the dark window. Tomorrow, she would become Sarah Mitchell again, harmless at contractor, boring analyst asking boring questions about network security. But underneath the cover identity, underneath the civilian clothes and the professional demeanor, she was still the same woman who'd stared down at concrete from a rooftop 3 years ago and chosen to live, chosen to become dangerous, chosen to make sure no one else would have to feel what she'd felt. The ghost had returned to Camp Pendleton, and this time, she wasn't the one who was going to break. Maya's first week on base taught her exactly what she needed to know about Derek Vance. He watched her, not obviously, not in ways that would raise immediate alarm, but she felt his attention like heat from a fire every time his unit rotated through her observation area. Quick glances that lingered a fraction too long. A predator sizing up potential prey. She let him watch. Let him see Sarah Mitchell, the harmless IT contractor with her clipboard and her boring questions about network protocols. Let him dismiss her as another civilian bureaucrat too stupid to notice anything important. That was the plan. Become invisible by being forgettable. But on day 4, Vance changed the game. She was documenting access logs near the training yard when his voice came from directly behind her. "You're the cybersecurity consultant." Maya turned slowly, controlled, non-threatening. He stood 6 feet away, arms crossed, that confident smile she'd memorized from his photograph plastered across his face. Up close, his eyes were worse than the pictures suggested. Cold, calculating. The eyes of someone who'd learned to enjoy power over others. "Sarah Mitchell," she said, extending her hand. And you are Staff Sergeant Derek Vance, Special Logistics Coordination. He shook her hand, held it a beat too long. Heard you've been asking a lot of questions about our communication systems. That's my job. Network security assessment. Right. He released her hand but didn't step back, stayed in her personal space, testing boundaries. Thing is, Ms. Mitchell, our communication systems work just fine. Have for years. Makes a guy wonder why SOCOM suddenly decided they needed some civilian contractor poking around in our business. Maya kept her expression neutral, professional, slightly confused. I just go where they send me, Staff Sergeant. I don't make the decisions about which installations need assessment. Sure you don't. His smile widened, but his eyes stayed cold. Well, if you have any questions about logistics operations, my office is in Building 12. Door's always open. I appreciate that. He started to walk away, then stopped, turned back. Oh, and Ms. Mitchell, be careful where you poke around. Some systems on this base are more sensitive than others. Wouldn't want you accidentally accessing something above your clearance level. It wasn't a warning, it was a threat. Maya watched him walk away and felt her pulse quicken. Not from fear, from recognition. He knew something was wrong. Didn't know what yet. Didn't know who she really was or why she was really here. But his instincts had flagged her as a potential threat, which meant she needed to move faster than planned. That night, she called Rachel Dawson. I need to meet one of the women Vance pushed out. Someone who saw something. Someone who might be willing to talk. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. There's one. Private First Class Emily Torres. She's still on base. Barely. What do you mean, barely? She witnessed something 3 months ago. Tried to report it. The investigation went nowhere. Since then, she's been systematically destroyed, transferred to garbage duty, denied promotion, harassed daily by Vance's people. Rachel's voice tightened. She's hanging on by a thread. I've been trying to help her, but there's only so much a lieutenant can do against a staff sergeant with friends in high places. Can you arrange a meeting? It would have to be off base, somewhere private. If Vance's people see her talking to you, I understand. Set it up. 2 days later, Maya sat across from Emily Torres in a coffee shop 20 miles from Camp Pendleton. The young Marine was 22 years old but looked older. Dark circles under her eyes, weight loss visible in the way her civilian clothes hung loose on her frame, hands that trembled slightly when she lifted her coffee cup. Maya recognized the symptoms. She'd seen them in her own mirror 3 years ago. Lieutenant Dawson said you wanted to talk, Emily said. Her voice was flat, exhausted. Said you might be able to help. That depends on what you're willing to tell me. Emily stared at her coffee. You're not really an IT contractor, are you? Does it matter what I am? It matters if I'm going to trust you. Emily looked up. Her eyes were hollow, but somewhere behind the exhaustion was a spark of something that hadn't quite died yet. I've trusted the system before. Filed reports, talked to investigators. You know what happened. Tell me. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except suddenly I'm the one being investigated. Suddenly my performance reviews are negative. Suddenly everyone treats me like I'm the problem. Her voice cracked. I gave everything to the Marine Corps. Everything. And they're throwing me away because I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. Maya leaned forward. What did you see, Emily? The young Marine's hands tightened around her cup. 3 months ago. Late night. I was pulling extra duty because Morrison had me on punishment detail for some garbage infraction he made up. I was walking past Building 12 around midnight when I heard voices. Whose voices? Vance. And someone else. Someone I didn't recognize. They were talking about coordinates, patrol routes, names of personnel. Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. They were talking about a mission in Syria. A patrol that was scheduled for the following week. Maya's blood ran cold. The patrol that was ambushed. Emily nodded. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. 8 Marines died. 8. And I heard them planning it. I heard Vance give someone the route, the timing, everything. She wiped her face with shaking hands. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. So I waited. And then the news came about the ambush, and I knew. I knew what I'd heard. Who was the other person, the one Vance was talking to? I never saw his face. But his voice. It wasn't American. Some kind of accent. Middle Eastern, maybe, I don't know. Emily looked at her desperately. I reported everything. Told the investigators exactly what I heard. They said there was no evidence. Said I must have misunderstood. Said I was confused. They buried it. They buried me. Emily's voice broke completely. I've thought about ending it. More than once. Every day, actually. The only reason I'm still here is because I keep hoping someone will believe me. Someone will care that 8 people died because of what I heard. Maya reached across the table and took Emily's hands. I believe you. Emily stared at her. Who are you? Someone who knows exactly what you're going through. Someone who stood on a rooftop 3 years ago and almost jumped because the system failed her too. Maya squeezed her hands. And someone who's going to make sure Derek Vance pays for what he did. How? By doing what I do best. Hunting predators. Maya spent the next 3 days building her case. Rachel provided access to communication logs that showed Vance making encrypted transmissions during the 48 hours before the Syria ambush. The timing was too precise to be coincidental. Bull came through with financial records showing cash deposits into an offshore account connected to a shell company in Dubai. The amounts matched known payment patterns for intelligence sales to foreign actors. And Emily provided the most damning evidence of all, a partial recording she'd made on her phone the night she overheard Vance's conversation. The audio was scratchy, incomplete, but clear enough to hear Vance's voice saying coordinates that matched the ambush location. Clear enough to hear him say, "The route is confirmed. They won't see it coming." Maya listened to the recording 17 times. Each time she felt the same cold fury building in her chest. 8 Marines, 8 families, 8 flag-draped coffins, all because one man had decided American lives were worth less than money. She was going to destroy him. Day 8 brought the first complication. Maya was reviewing personnel files in her temporary office when the door opened without warning. Gunnery Sergeant Ray Morrison filled the doorway. 6'4", 240 pounds of muscle and malice. The enforcer. Ms. Mitchell. His voice was a low rumble. Staff Sergeant Vance would like a word. I'm in the middle of something. Wasn't a request. Maya set down her files and stood slowly, kept her movements non-threatening. Let him see the civilian contractor, not the operator. Lead the way, Gunnery Sergeant. Morrison escorted her to Building 12, through corridors she hadn't been authorized to access, past security checkpoints that should have required clearance she didn't officially have. He was making a point, showing her that Vance operated by different rules than everyone else. Vance's office was sparse, functional. A desk, 2 chairs, a computer terminal, and a wall covered with commendations and photographs of him shaking hands with high-ranking officers. He was sitting behind the desk when she entered, that same predator smile. Close the door, Morrison. The door shut behind her with a heavy click. Have a seat, Ms. Mitchell. Maya sat, kept her posture relaxed, her breathing steady. You wanted to see me, Staff Sergeant. I've been watching you. Vance leaned back in his chair. 8 days on my base. Lots of questions. Lots of documentation. But not much actual cybersecurity work from what I can tell. I'm thorough. It takes time to conduct a proper assessment. See, that's what I figured at first. Civilian contractor. Typical bureaucratic inefficiency. Nothing to worry about. He leaned forward suddenly, hands flat on the desk. But then I started hearing things. Hearing that you've been meeting with certain personnel, asking questions that have nothing to do with network security. Maya's heart rate stayed steady. I'm not sure what you mean. Lieutenant Dawson, Private Torres. 2 women who've caused me significant headaches over the past year. His smile disappeared. Now they're both talking to you. That's quite a coincidence. Lieutenant Dawson is my liaison, and Private Torres happened to be in the coffee shop where I stopped for lunch. We made small talk, nothing more. Small talk. Vance stood up slowly, walked around the desk until he was standing directly in front of her, too close, deliberately violating her space. Let me be clear about something, Ms. Mitchell. This is my base, my operation, my territory. People who make trouble for me tend to regret it. Is that a threat? It's an observation. He leaned down until his face was inches from hers. I don't know who you really are or why you're really here, but I'm going to find out. And when I do, if I don't like what I find... He let the sentence hang. Maya met his eyes without flinching. Are we done here, Staff Sergeant? I have work to do. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe. He'd expected fear, submission. The reaction he was used to getting from women he intimidated. He stepped back. For now, Morrison will escort you out. Maya stood, walked to the door, put her hand on the handle. Staff Sergeant Vance. He looked at her. You should be more careful about the systems you leave unencrypted. Someone with the right skills might access files you'd prefer to keep private. She left before he could respond. That night, Maya knew she'd crossed a line. Vance was suspicious, actively investigating her. It was only a matter of time before he discovered that Sarah Mitchell's background wouldn't survive deep scrutiny. She needed to accelerate the timeline. She called Bull. He's on to me. Maybe not who I am, but he knows something's wrong. How long do you have? Days, maybe less. Then we move fast. Bull's voice was tense. I've got something. Financial records show Vance's offshore account received a payment 3 days after the Syria ambush, $500,000. Payment for services rendered. It gets worse. The shell company that made the payment is connected to a former CIA analyst named Richard Harper. He was forced out 6 years ago for suspected foreign contacts that couldn't be proven. Now he runs a private military consulting firm with clients in countries we don't do business with. So Vance feeds intelligence to Harper, and Harper sells it to the highest bidder. That's what it looks like, but there's more. Bull paused. Harper's in the country. Landed at San Diego International 2 days ago. Best guess is he's here to meet with Vance. Maya's mind raced. If we can catch them together, catch the actual exchange, then we've got them both, but you'd need to know when and where they're meeting. I can get that. How? Maya thought about the encrypted communications she'd been tracking. The after-hours meetings Rachel had documented. The patterns that were starting to make sense. Vance keeps his most sensitive information on a personal device, not connected to the base network. If I can access it. That's a huge risk. If he catches you, he won't. Bull was quiet for a long moment. You're not just talking about sneaking into his office, are you? No, I'm talking about getting him to bring the device to me. How the hell are you going to do that? Maya closed her eyes. Thought about Emily Torres trembling in that coffee shop. Thought about the 8 names she'd written on her notepad. Thought about the rooftop 3 years ago and the choice she'd made to survive. By giving him exactly what he wants. A target he can't resist. The next morning, Maya walked into the training yard without her clipboard. She moved differently, deliberately, let her body language shift from invisible contractor to something else entirely. Something that would catch the attention of predators who hunted by instinct. It took less than an hour. Vance appeared with Morrison and Chen watching her from across the yard. She felt their attention lock onto her. Felt the calculation happening behind their eyes. She gave them what they wanted. Vulnerability. Isolation. The appearance of someone who'd wandered into dangerous territory without understanding the risks. By lunch, Vance had made his move. He intercepted her in a quiet corridor, Morrison and Chen flanking him like wolves. Ms. Mitchell, you've been avoiding me. I've been doing my job. Sure you have. He stepped closer. You know what I think. I think you've been playing games with me. Asking questions you shouldn't ask. Talking to people you shouldn't talk to. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you... His hand came up, touched her collar, adjusted it with slow, deliberate fingers. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I think it's time we had a more direct conversation. Maya let fear show in her eyes. Not real fear, calculated performance. The reaction he expected. Staff Sergeant, I really need to get back to work. Work can wait. He nodded to Morrison and Chen. Take her to the equipment bay. We'll continue this conversation somewhere private. They grabbed her arms, started walking her toward the back of the building. Maya didn't resist. Let them think they had control. Let them think she was helpless. In her pocket, her phone was recording everything. The equipment bay was isolated. No cameras, no witnesses. Vance closed the door behind them. Now, he said, let's talk about who you really are. I told you. Sarah Mitchell, cybersecurity consultant. Bullshit. He pulled out his personal phone, the device she needed access to. I've been checking up on you. Your background is clean, too clean. No social media, no digital footprint beyond basic professional credentials. Nobody's that invisible unless they're hiding something. I value my privacy. Or someone manufactured an identity for you. He scrolled through his phone. I've got contacts who can dig deeper. People who can find out things the normal channels would miss. By tomorrow, I'll know everything about you. Morrison stepped closer. Chen circled behind her. The same triangular formation, the same isolation tactics, the same methodical progression from intimidation to violence. Maya had seen this before, lived it before. But this time, she wasn't the victim. Staff Sergeant Vance, she said, her voice completely calm. I'm going to give you one chance to walk away. He laughed, actually laughed. Walk away. Sweetheart, you're not in a position to give anyone chances. Yes, I am. Something in her voice made him hesitate. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. Morrison held her. Morrison grabbed her arms from behind. His grip was brutal, meant to hurt, meant to establish control. Vance stepped closer, right into her space, his phone still in his hand. Last chance, Ms. Mitchell. Tell me who you really are and why you're really here, or this is going to get very unpleasant for you. Maya looked into his eyes and smiled. My name is Lieutenant Maya Reinhardt, United States Navy SEAL Team 6, and you just made the worst mistake of your life. The smile on his face froze. Morrison's grip loosened for half a second, and Maya moved. Her right elbow drove backward into Morrison's solar plexus. 240 pounds of muscle meant nothing when you couldn't breathe. He doubled over, gasping. She pivoted, caught his wrist, hyperextended his elbow until something cracked. He screamed. Chen lunged at her. She sidestepped, used his momentum, redirected him face first into the concrete wall. He went down and stayed down. 2 seconds. 2 targets neutralized. Vance was running for the door. She caught him in 3 steps, swept his legs out from under him. He hit the ground hard, phone flying from his hand. She was on him before he could recover, knee on his spine, his arm wrenched behind his back at an angle that would dislocate his shoulder if he moved. Don't, she said. Move. He struggled anyway, tried to throw her off. She increased the pressure. He screamed. I said don't move. He went still. Maya reached over and picked up his phone, the device she'd needed, the key to everything. You're dead, Vance gasped. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I've got friends everywhere, people who will bury you so deep. Your friends can't help you. She leaned close to his ear. Nobody can help you, because in about 30 seconds, NCIS agents are going to come through that door. They're going to arrest you for espionage, treason, and accessory to the murder of 8 United States Marines. And then you're going to spend the rest of your life in a military prison wondering how a 26-year-old woman destroyed everything you built. You're bluffing. Try me. The door burst open. 4 agents in tactical gear, weapons drawn. NCIS, nobody move. Maya released Vance and stepped back, hands visible. Staff Sergeant Derek Vance, he's all yours. The agents moved in, flex cuffs, rights being read. Morrison and Chen secured. Rachel Dawson appeared in the doorway, her face pale but determined. Is it done? Maya looked at Vance being hauled to his feet, his predator smile finally gone, replaced by something that looked like terror. Not yet, she said. This was just the first step. The real target is still out there. She looked at the phone in her hand. The key to finding Richard Harper. The key to ending the entire operation. Now the hunt really begins. Vance broke within 6 hours. Maya watched through the one-way glass as the NCIS interrogators worked him over. Not physically. They didn't need to. The evidence on his phone was devastating enough that his own lawyer advised full cooperation. Names, dates, account numbers, the entire architecture of his betrayal laid out in encrypted files that Navy cryptographers cracked in under 2 hours. But the most important piece came at hour 5 when Vance finally stopped pretending he had leverage. Harper's meeting someone tomorrow night, private airfield outside Oceanside. He's selling a package to a Chinese intelligence officer, MSS, high level. The lead interrogator leaned forward. What's in the package? Everything. Names of undercover operatives in Southeast Asia, deployment schedules for 3 carrier groups, access codes for classified communication networks. Vance's voice cracked. It's the biggest intelligence sale in 20 years. Harper's been building this for months. And you helped him. I gave him the raw data. He packaged it. Found the buyers. Vance looked at the mirror, somehow knowing Maya was watching. She has no idea what she's walking into. Harper's not some amateur. He's got security, professionals, ex-agency guys who know how to make problems disappear. Maya turned away from the glass. Bull was waiting in the corridor, his face grim. You heard? I heard. She started walking. We need to move tonight. If Harper gets spooked, if he changes the meeting location, already on it. NCIS is assembling a tactical team, 6 operators plus support. That's not enough. Bull grabbed her arm, stopped her. Maya, this isn't Syria. This isn't Yemen. This is American soil. There are rules, protocols. We can't just... 8 Marines are dead because of protocols. She pulled free. 8 families are destroyed because people followed rules while Harper sold their sons and daughters to the enemy. I'm not letting him walk away because some bureaucrat is worried about jurisdiction. I'm not asking you to let him walk away. I'm asking you to let me help. She stopped, looked at him. Bull's eyes were steady, the same eyes that had found her on that rooftop 3 years ago, the same quiet strength that had saved her life with 7 words. How? I've still got friends in the community, retired operators who owe me favors, men who know how to run an operation without leaving fingerprints. He paused. Let me make some calls. Give me 4 hours. We don't have 4 hours. Then I'll work fast. 4 hours later, Maya stood in an abandoned warehouse with Bull and 4 men she'd never met but recognized immediately. Operators. The real kind. You could see it in their eyes, their posture, the way they held themselves like coiled springs waiting for release. Bull made introductions. Marcus Chen, former Delta, best breacher I ever worked with. Chen nodded. Didn't smile. His hands were scarred from years of handling explosives. Bradford Young, SEAL Team 4 retired, sniper, almost as good as you. Young did smile, barely. Almost. James Rivera, CIA Special Activities Division, extraction specialist. Rivera was older than the others, gray at his temples, but his movements were fluid, economical. A man who'd learned to survive by never wasting energy. And David Park, NCIS liaison. He's the one who's going to make sure this operation stays legal. Barely. Park looked uncomfortable. I want to be clear. This is sanctioned, but just barely. If anything goes wrong, nothing's going to go wrong. Maya stepped forward. Here's what we know. Richard Harper is meeting a Chinese MSS officer at a private airfield outside Oceanside tomorrow at 2100. He's exchanging classified intelligence for approximately $2 million. Security? Chen asked. Unknown. Vance said Harper uses ex-agency contractors, professionals. We should assume at least 4 to 6 hostiles, possibly more. Rules of engagement. Maya looked at Bull. He nodded. Lethal force authorized against armed resistance. But Harper comes in alive if possible. He's got information about the broader network, names of other assets, other buyers. We need what's in his head. Young was studying a satellite map of the airfield. Overwatch positions. Water tower here, Maya pointed. 600 meters from the main runway. Clear sight lines to the exchange point. That's my position. And ground team. Approaches from the east through this tree line. Chen and Rivera on point. Bull and Young provide secondary cover. We wait for the exchange to begin, confirm both packages are present, then move on my signal. Park raised his hand. What about the MSS officer? Chinese intelligence on American soil is a diplomatic nightmare. We take him too. Let the State Department figure out the politics after we've secured the evidence. Bull stepped forward. Any questions? Silence. Then we gear up at 1800, wheels down at 2000. We hit them fast, we hit them hard, and we make sure Richard Harper never sells another American life. The night was perfect for hunting. No moon, minimal ambient light, the kind of darkness that swallowed movement and made ghosts out of operators who knew how to use it. Maya reached her overwatch position at 2040. The water tower gave her exactly what she needed: elevation concealment and clear sight lines to every approach vector. She settled behind her rifle. M110, SAS, 7.62 NATO, effective range out to 800 meters, more than enough for what was coming. Phantom in position, she said into her radio. Eyes on target area, runway clear, no contacts. Bull's voice came back steady. Ground team advancing, 2 minutes to position. She scanned through her scope. The airfield was dark except for a single security light near the larger hangar. No vehicles visible, no movement. But Harper was out there. She could feel it. At 20:55, headlights appeared on the south access road. Contact, black SUV approaching from the south. The vehicle parked near the hangar. 2 figures emerged. Maya adjusted her scope. 2 contacts. First individual matches Harper's description. Second is larger, moving with tactical precision. Armed. Probably security. Copy. Hold position. At 2100 exactly, she heard the aircraft. Small plane. Single engine. Approaching from the east. It circled once, confirming the airfield, then lined up for landing. Aircraft inbound. Looks like our buyers are arriving on schedule. The plane touched down smoothly. Taxied to a stop near Harper's position. The door opened. A man stepped out. Asian. Mid-40s. Expensive suit even in the darkness. He carried a metal briefcase. Third contact. Asian male. Matches MSS profile. He's carrying a case, probably payment. Harper approached with a similar briefcase. Intelligence package. This was it. The exchange. Ground team, you are go. Repeat, you are go. Move now. No, everything happened in seconds. Chen and Rivera emerged from the tree-line weapons, up tactical lights blazing. Federal agents on the ground now. Harper's security contractor reacted instantly. Professional. Trained. His weapon came up, muzzle flash bright in the darkness. Maya's rifle cracked once. 620 meters. Perfect headshot. The contractor dropped before he finished pulling his trigger. But Harper was moving. Faster than expected. He grabbed the MSS officer, used him as a human shield, pulled a sidearm. Runner Harper's mobile. He's got the Chinese officer. Bull broke from cover. 67 years old and moving like lightning. Closing distance, while Harper fired wild shots that sparked off concrete. Bull, get down. He didn't listen. Never had. 20 meters. 15. 10. Harper saw him coming. Turned. Fired 3 shots. All missed. Bull returned fire. 1 shot. Center mass. Harper stumbled. The MSS officer broke free, ran toward the plane. Harper staggered but didn't fall. Body armor. The round had hit his vest. He recovered faster than Bull expected. Pulled a knife. Combat blade. 8 inches of steel designed for killing. Bull was too close to shoot. Harper was too fast to evade. The knife slashed across Bull's face. Blood sprayed in the darkness. Maya was already moving. climbing down the water tower at speed that would have terrified anyone watching, 200 feet in 30 seconds. She hit the ground running, 600 meters, full tactical gear, lungs burning, legs screaming. She ran anyway. She reached the airfield as Bull and Harper rolled across the tarmac. Bull was losing. He was 67 years old, fighting a man 30 years younger who'd never stopped training. The knife slashed again. Bull blocked, but took a cut to his forearm. Maya didn't slow down. She hit Harper at full speed. All her momentum behind the impact. They went down hard. She felt his ribs compress under the collision, heard air explode from his lungs. Then she was on him, knee on his chest, weapon to his temple. Move and I put a round through your brain. Understand? Harper looked up at her through blood and sweat, recognition dawning. You're the woman from the base, the contractor. Commander Maya Reinhardt, Navy SEAL, and you just ran out of sky. Chen and Rivera secured the MSS officer. Young provided cover while Park moved in with flex cuffs. Maya kept her weapon trained on Harper's face. The intelligence package, where is it? Go to hell. She pressed the barrel harder against his skull. I've killed 47 people. Most of them were more dangerous than you. Don't test me. Something in her voice made him believe her. Briefcase, near the hangar. And the buyer's money. The Chinese officer has it. Rivera's voice came over the radio. Confirm. We've got both packages, evidence secured. Maya finally allowed herself to breathe. It was over. Bull was sitting on the tarmac when she reached him, blood running down his face from the knife wound, more blood soaking through his sleeve from the cut on his forearm. You're hurt. Been worse. He tried to grin but winced instead. That son of a bitch could still fight. You shouldn't have engaged him directly. You're 67 years old. And you ran 600 meters in full tactical gear to save my ancient ass. We're even. Maya knelt beside him, started applying pressure to the facial wound. You need medical attention. I need to see this through. Bull grabbed her wrist. His grip was still strong despite the blood loss. Harper's in custody. The intelligence is recovered, but this isn't finished. You know that. What do you mean? Vance gave up Harper. Harper will give up his contacts. There's a whole network out there, other bases, other sources. This operation exposed the rot at Camp Pendleton, but the disease goes deeper. Maya looked at Harper being loaded into a vehicle. The man who'd sold 8 Marines to their deaths. The man who'd built an empire on American blood. I know. SOCOM is going to want you to keep hunting. Different bases, different targets, same mission. Are you trying to talk me out of it? Bull shook his head slowly. I'm trying to make sure you understand what you're signing up for. This kind of work, it takes pieces of you. Pieces you don't get back. I know that too. Do you? He looked at her with eyes that had seen too much death and too little justice. 3 years ago, you were standing on a rooftop ready to jump. You survived. You became dangerous. But the danger doesn't just point outward, Maya. It points inward, too. You hunt monsters long enough, you start to become one. She thought about the 47 people she'd killed, the faces she remembered, the faces she'd forgotten, the nightmares that came less frequently now, but never completely stopped. What's the alternative? Stop hunting. Let men like Harper and Vance keep operating. Let more Marines die while I protect my mental health. No. The alternative is to remember why you're doing this. Bull's voice softened. Not for revenge. Not for the adrenaline. Not because you've forgotten how to do anything else. You do this to protect people. People like Emily Torres. People like your 23-year-old self who had nowhere to turn when the system failed her. I haven't forgotten. Good. Because the moment you forget the moment, this becomes just about the kill. That's when you lose yourself. That's when you become the thing you're hunting. The medics arrived, started working on Bull's wounds. Maya stood back watching. He was right. She knew he was right. The hunting was addictive. The precision, the control, the satisfaction of removing predators from a world that had too many of them. It would be easy to lose herself in that. to become nothing but a weapon aimed at targets. But she wasn't just a weapon, she was a survivor, a protector, someone who'd looked into the abyss and chosen to climb back out. That was the difference between her and the men she hunted. They saw other people as means to an end. She saw them as reasons to keep fighting. The debriefing took 6 hours. NCIS, FBI, CIA. Representatives from agencies Maya had never heard of, asking questions she couldn't answer because the operations were classified above their clearance levels. She told them what they needed to know. The evidence against Vance and Harper. The intelligence recovered from the exchange. The names and account numbers that would unravel the broader network. By morning, 18 arrests had been made across 3 states, 2 more intelligence officers, 5 military personnel, 11 civilian contractors who'd helped move money and information through channels designed to avoid detection. The Syria ambush wasn't an isolated incident. It was one piece of a machine that had been operating for years, selling American lives to whoever was willing to pay. Maya had just helped destroy that machine, but Bull's words kept echoing in her mind. The disease goes deeper. She found Emily Torres waiting outside the NCIS building. The young Marine looked different, still tired, still carrying weight that no 22-year-old should have to carry. But something had changed in her eyes. The hopelessness was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like determination. "Lieutenant Reinhardt." "Private Torres, how are you holding up?" "Better. Much better." Emily's voice was stronger than Maya had ever heard it. "I watched them take Vance away in handcuffs. Morrison, too. And Chen. All of them." She paused. "You did that. You made it happen. You helped. Your testimony. The recording. Without that evidence, we might not have been able to connect Vance to Harper. I was just telling the truth. Sometimes that's the bravest thing anyone can do." Emily was quiet for a moment. "What happens now? To me, I mean. My career. Everything. That's up to you. The new base commander is implementing reforms, independent reporting systems, real accountability. Your record is being reviewed. The negative evaluations are being thrown out." Maya paused. "If you want to stay in the Marine Corps, you can. If you want to transfer somewhere else, that option is available. If you want to separate entirely, no one will stop you. What would you do?" Maya thought about it, really thought about it. "When I was your age, someone gave me a choice. I could stay and fight a battle I couldn't win, or I could transfer somewhere that would turn me into something different, something dangerous." She looked at Emily. "I chose to become dangerous, but that's not the right choice for everyone." "What is the right choice?" "The one that lets you sleep at night, the one that lets you look in the mirror and recognize the person looking back." Maya put her hand on Emily's shoulder. "You don't have to decide right now. Take time. Talk to people you trust. Figure out what you want your life to look like." "Will I ever stop being scared?" "No, but you'll learn to be scared and strong at the same time. That's what courage is. Not the absence of fear, the refusal to let fear make your decisions for you." Emily nodded slowly. "Thank you. For everything. For believing me when no one else would. Thank yourself. You survived. You spoke up. You helped bring down men who thought they were untouchable." Maya stepped back. "That makes you a warrior, Private Torres. Whatever you decide to do next, never forget that." Rachel Dawson found her an hour later. The lieutenant looked exhausted but satisfied. The kind of satisfaction that came from watching years of frustration finally resolve into justice. "It's official. Admiral Calloway has been relieved of command. He's not directly implicated in the intelligence sales, but he created the environment that allowed Vance to operate. Dereliction of duty. Failure to investigate credible complaints. His career is over. Good. The new commander is Colonel Patricia Webb, first woman to command Camp Pendleton in its history. She's already implementing the reforms we talked about. And your sister," Rachel's eyes filled with tears, "her security clearance is being reinstated. Her record is being corrected. Rachel's voice broke. She's going to be okay. For the first time in 2 years, she's actually going to be okay. Maya nodded. That's what matters. Not the arrests, not the convictions. The people who were hurt getting a chance to heal. Is that what this was about for you, healing? Maya thought about the question. Partly, but mostly it was about making sure no one else has to go through what I went through, what your sister went through, what Emily Torres went through. She looked at Rachel. The system failed us. All of us. So we have to build a better system, one that protects the people it's supposed to protect. Can that actually happen? Can things actually change? They're changing right now. Because of what we did. Because we refused to accept that broken was the only way things could be. Rachel wiped her eyes. What's next for you? Maya reached into her pocket, pulled out a new folder that Bull had handed her an hour ago. Different base, different suspects, same rot festering in the foundations. Same mission, different target. Already, the work doesn't stop just because we won one battle. There are other bases, other Vances, other women standing on rooftops wondering if jumping would hurt less than surviving. Maya tucked the folder away. Someone has to hunt the predators. Someone has to expose the rot. Someone has to make sure the bastards can't hide anymore. And that someone is you. For now, but not forever. Eventually, if we do this right, the system won't need people like me. The accountability will be built in. The protection will be automatic. The predators won't have anywhere to operate. You really believe that? Maya looked at the sky. The sun was rising, a new day beginning. I have to believe it. Otherwise, what's the point of any of this? Bull was waiting by her car when she finally left the building. His face was bandaged, his arm in a sling. But he was standing upright and his eyes were clear. You look like hell, she said. Feel like it too, but I've felt worse. He handed her a set of car keys. New vehicle, clean plates, nothing that traces back to you. Where am I going? Fort Carson, Colorado. Preliminary intelligence suggests a similar pattern to what we found here. Someone selling patrol routes, someone getting soldiers killed. He paused. SOCOM wants you to run the same playbook. Infiltrate, document, expose. When do I leave? Tomorrow. You've got 24 hours to rest, recover, and prepare. Maya took the keys, looked at them for a long moment. Bull, what you said earlier, about hunting monsters, about losing yourself. I meant every word. I know. She looked at him. But I also know something else. 3 years ago, you saved my life with 7 words. You didn't have to. You could have walked away. Let the system chew me up and spit me out like it does to so many others. But you chose to fight for someone you barely knew. That was different. Was it, you saw someone who needed help, someone the system had failed, and you did something about it? Maya put the keys in her pocket. That's what I'm doing now. Seeing people who need help. Doing something about it. The hunting is just the method. The protecting is the purpose. Bull was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, just slightly. You're going to be okay, Reinhardt. Yeah, I think I am. She got in the car, started the engine, looked at him through the window. Bull, thank you. For everything. For then. For now. For teaching me that survival could be an act of defiance. You taught yourself that. I just pointed you in the right direction. Same thing. She pulled away, watched him shrink in the rearview mirror. The man who'd given her a future when she'd been ready to throw hers away. 24 hours, then Fort Carson, then the next hunt. The ghost was just getting started. Maya never made it to Fort Carson. 12 hours after leaving Camp Pendleton, her secure phone rang with a number she didn't recognize. She answered anyway. Lieutenant Reinhardt. A woman's voice. Calm. Professional. The kind of calm that came from delivering bad news regularly. Who is this girl? Director Catherine Walsh. Central Intelligence Agency. We need to talk. Maya pulled off the highway. Found a rest stop. Killed the engine. I'm listening. Richard Harper started talking 3 hours ago. What he's telling us changes everything. Changes how the network is bigger than we thought. Much bigger. Harper wasn't selling to one buyer. He was running an auction house. Multiple foreign intelligence services bidding on American secrets. Chinese, Russian, Iranian, North Korean. Walsh paused. And he didn't build it alone. Maya's grip tightened on the phone. Who else is involved? That's what we need to discuss, in person. There's a private airfield 20 miles east of your current location. A plane is waiting. It will bring you to Langley. Why should I trust you? Because Harper named his partners lieutenant. 23 names, military officers, intelligence analysts, defense contractors, people embedded at the highest levels of our national security apparatus. Walsh's voice hardened. And one of those names is someone you know personally, someone you trusted. The world tilted. Who? Admiral Vincent Callaway. The flight to Langley took 4 hours. Maya spent every minute of it reviewing the files Walsh had transmitted to her secure tablet. Harper's confession was devastating. Years of carefully cultivated sources feeding him classified information. A distribution network that moved secrets through shell companies and cryptocurrency transactions. Payments totaling over $50 million split among 24 traders. And at the center of it all, the man who'd commanded Camp Pendleton. The man who'd dismissed harassment complaints. The man who'd created the environment that allowed Vance to operate with impunity. Admiral Vincent Callaway hadn't just enabled the rot. He'd planted it. Maya stared at his photograph. Distinguished. Decorated. 3 decades of service. The face of American military leadership. The face of a traitor. She thought about Rachel Dawson's sister. About Emily Torres. About every woman who'd been broken and discarded because Callaway needed to protect his operation. The harassment wasn't just institutional negligence. It was strategic. A way to silence anyone who got too close to the truth. Her hands shook. Not from fear, from rage. Director Walsh was waiting when Maya landed. Mid-50s, silver hair cut short, eyes that had seen every kind of betrayal and learned not to flinch. Lieutenant Reinhardt, thank you for coming. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice, but I think you'll want to hear what I'm offering. They walked through Langley's corridors in silence, past security checkpoints, through doors that required biometric scans, into a conference room where 6 people sat waiting. Maya recognized 2 of them. Bull Thornton, his face still bandaged, and Park, the NCIS liaison from the airfield operation. The others were strangers, but their postures said military, intelligence, people who operated in shadows. Walsh took her seat at the head of the table. Everyone here has been read into Operation Clean Sweep. Everyone here knows what you accomplished at Camp Pendleton, and everyone here is about to become part of something much larger. Which is, we're calling it Task Force Reckoning, a joint operation between CIA, NCIS, and SOCOM to dismantle Harper's network from the inside out. 23 targets across 12 installations. We estimate the operation will take 18 months to complete. And you want me to lead it? I want you to be part of it. The methodology you developed at Camp Pendleton works. Infiltration, documentation, targeted exposure. We need to replicate that approach at scale. Bull spoke up. Maya, this is the chance to finish what we started. Not just one base, not just one network. The entire system that allows men like Callaway to operate. Callaway is already in custody. You said he was relieved of command. He was. Walsh pulled up a file on the screen. But we didn't arrest him. We didn't have enough evidence. Harper's testimony changes that, but Callaway is smart. The moment he realizes Harper is talking, he'll run. Disappear. Use his connections to vanish somewhere we can't reach him. Then arrest him now. We can't. Not without tipping off the other 22 targets. If they know we're coming, they scatter. The network goes underground, rebuilds somewhere else. We lose years of progress. Maya understood. You need to take them all at once. Exactly. Coordinated strikes at all 12 installations simultaneously. But to do that, we need intelligence, we need evidence, we need people inside each location documenting everything before we move. How long? 6 weeks, maybe 8. We build the cases, coordinate the timing, execute simultaneously. Walsh leaned forward. But there's a complication. Calloway isn't just sitting at home waiting to be arrested, he's planning something. What? We don't know. But Harper mentioned a final sale. Something Calloway has been building toward for years. The crown jewel of his operation. Information so valuable that whoever buys it will have a decisive advantage for the next decade. What kind of information? Park answered. We believe it's related to nuclear submarine deployment schedules, patrol routes, communication frequencies. If that information reaches a hostile power, they could track and potentially destroy our entire submarine fleet. Maya felt cold. When is the sale supposed to happen? Harper didn't know, but based on communication patterns we've intercepted, we think it's soon. Days, not weeks. Bull stood up. Maya, Calloway knows you. He knows you were the one who brought down Vance. If he's planning to run, he's going to do it fast. And if he's planning a final sale, he'll want to make sure no one can stop him. You think he'll come after me? I think he'll come after everyone who threatens his operation. You, Rachel Dawson, Emily Torres, anyone who knows enough to be dangerous. Maya's blood ran cold for a different reason now. Emily is still at Camp Pendleton. We've sent people to protect her, but Calloway has resources, people who owe him. If he decides to eliminate witnesses before he disappears, Maya was already standing. I need to get back there. You can't. Walsh's voice was firm. If you go back now, you expose yourself. You become a target, and we lose our best asset for taking down the rest of the network. So I'm supposed to sit here while innocent people are in danger. You're supposed to trust that we have this under control. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've known about this network for years and done nothing. You let Harper operate. You let Calloway rise through the ranks. You let 8 Marines die in Syria because actually stopping these people was too politically complicated. Walsh's expression didn't change. That's fair. The system failed. Multiple times. Multiple ways. But right now, we have a chance to fix it. A real chance. If you walk away, if you go off on your own, you might save 1 person. Maybe 2. But the network survives. The rot stays hidden. And in another year, another 8 Marines die in another ambush. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to fight, wanted to do something that felt like action instead of sitting in a conference room while people she cared about were in danger. But Walsh was right. 1 person couldn't dismantle a network that had been building for decades. It took coordination, resources, time. What do you need from me? The answer was 3 days of intensive briefings. Maya learned things that made her sick. The scope of the betrayal, the depth of the corruption. Names she recognized from news broadcasts and official ceremonies, people celebrated as heroes who had been selling American lives for profit. She learned about the methodology, how the network recruited, how they identified potential assets, how they tested loyalty before revealing the true nature of the operation. And she learned about her own role. Calloway doesn't know you're working with us, Walsh explained. As far as he's concerned, you're a loose end, a problem to be solved. We can use that. You want to use me as bait. I want to give you an opportunity. Calloway is paranoid. He's not going to meet with anyone he doesn't trust. But if he thinks you're alone, vulnerable, trying to continue your investigation without official support, he might make contact. He might try to eliminate you or recruit you. Either way, we get a location. We get evidence. We get the opening we need. Bull shook his head. This is too dangerous. If Calloway suspects it's a trap, he won't. Maya's voice was steady. Because it won't be a trap. It will be exactly what it looks like. A soldier who's been burned by the system looking for answers, not sure who to trust. Maya, 3 years ago I was standing on a rooftop, ready to die, because I thought the system had failed me completely. That person, the angry, isolated, desperate person who didn't know who to trust. She met Bull's eyes. That's the person Calloway will expect to see, because that's the person his operation creates. Victims who are too broken to fight back. Walsh nodded slowly. Can you do it? Can you make him believe you're that vulnerable? Maya thought about the darkness that still lived inside her, the part that never completely healed, the part that still woke up some nights feeling the hands of three men who thought they could break her. Yes, because part of me still is. The plan was simple. Maya would return to California, make contact with Rachel Dawson, let it be known that she was continuing her investigation independently without official sanction. Calloway would hear about it. His sources would report that the woman who destroyed his Camp Pendleton operation was still digging, still asking questions, still a threat. He would have to respond. The question was how. He has three options, Walsh explained. 1. Eliminate you. Quick clean, make it look like an accident. 2. Discredit you. Plant evidence, manufacture scandals, destroy your credibility before you can do any more damage. 3. Recruit you. Offer money protection, a place in his organization. Which is most likely? Depends on how desperate he is. If he's planning to run, soon elimination is fastest. If he thinks he still has time, recruitment might be more appealing. A Navy SEAL who's been burned by the system. That's exactly the kind of asset he likes to acquire. So I play along, make him think I'm open to recruitment. Until we have enough evidence to arrest him, then we move. Bull pulled Maya aside after the briefing. I don't like this. Neither do I, but it's the best option we have. You're putting yourself directly in the crosshairs of a man who's killed to protect his secrets. A man who has resources and connections we don't fully understand. I've been in crosshairs before. Not like this. Combat is one thing. You know the rules. You know who the enemy is. This is different. This is operating in shadows where everyone lies and nothing is what it seems. Maya put her hand on his arm. Bull, I spent 3 years becoming the most dangerous person in any room I walk into. You made sure of that. Now I need to use what you taught me to finish what we started. And if it goes wrong, then it goes wrong. But at least I'll have tried. At least I'll have done something instead of waiting for someone else to fix a problem I'm equipped to handle. Bull was quiet for a long moment. You sound like me, 30 years ago, before I learned that some battles cost more than they're worth. Did you stop fighting those battles? No, I just got smarter about picking them. He met her eyes. Don't die, Reinhardt. That's an order. Since when do you outrank me? Since I saved your life on a rooftop 3 years ago. That makes me responsible for what happens to you, forever. Maya smiled, just slightly. I'll be careful. Careful isn't good enough. Be lethal. Be precise. Be the ghost they trained you to be. He paused. And come back alive so I can yell at you properly. Maya returned to California 48 hours later. She checked into the same cheap motel where she'd stayed before the Camp Pendleton operation. Made calls on an unsecured line. Let herself be seen in places where Calloway's remaining sources would notice her. The message was clear, she was still hunting. 2 days passed. Nothing happened. Then on the third morning, her phone rang. Unknown number. But this time, the voice was familiar. Lieutenant Reinhardt, or should I say Commander, I understand you've been promoted. Admiral Vincent Calloway. His voice was smooth, controlled. The voice of a man who'd spent decades learning to hide what he really was. Admiral, I wondered when you'd call. You've been making quite a stir, asking questions, digging into matters that don't concern you. 8 Marines died because of information sold from your base. I'd say that concerns me. Vance acted alone. His arrest proved that. Bossy, and did it because the intelligence I'm seeing suggests something different. Suggests a much larger operation. One that didn't end when Vance was taken into custody. Silence on the line. Just for a moment. You've been talking to the wrong people, Lieutenant. Getting fed misinformation by agencies that have their own agendas. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally getting close to the truth. And what truth is that? Maya took a breath, made her voice bitter, angry, vulnerable. That the system is rotten from the top down. That people like you protect predators while victims get destroyed. That everything I believed about service and honor was a lie. That's a dark view of the world. It's the view the world gave me. 3 years ago, I was assaulted by 3 men in uniform. I reported it. Nothing happened. Now I find out the man who commanded that base was part of a network selling American lives to the enemy. She let her voice crack, just slightly. So, you tell me, Admiral, what am I supposed to believe? Another silence. Longer this time. Perhaps we should meet. In person. I think you have misconceptions about what's really happening. Misconceptions I might be able to correct. Why would I trust anything you say? Because I can give you what you actually want. Not justice, not accountability. Those are fantasies. What you want is power. The power to make sure no one can hurt you again. The power to be on the winning side for once. Maya closed her eyes. This was it. The recruitment pitch. I'm listening. There's a restaurant in San Diego. Marina's on the harbor. Meet me there tonight at 8. Come alone. We'll talk. And if you don't like what you hear, you can walk away. And if I do like what I hear, then maybe we can help each other. You have skills I could use, and I have resources that could make your life considerably easier. Maya pretended to hesitate. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't. But you're a Navy SEAL lieutenant. I assume you know how to handle yourself in dangerous situations. His voice warmed slightly. Besides, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead already. This call proves I want something different. 8 o'clock, Marina's. I'll be waiting. The line went dead. Maya stared at the phone for a long moment. Then she called Walsh. He took the bait. The next 8 hours were a blur of preparation. Surveillance teams positioned around the restaurant. Snipers on rooftops with sightlines to every entrance. Electronic monitoring equipment to record every word of the conversation. And Maya wearing a wire so small it was practically invisible, walking into the most dangerous meeting of her life. Bull caught her before she left. Last chance to call this off. No, we're too close. Calloway is a killer. He's murdered people who threatened him. He'll do the same to you if he suspects anything. Then I won't give him anything to suspect. Maya, I know what I'm doing, Bull. I've been preparing for this my whole life. She met his eyes. 3 years ago, you told me not to let cowards write my story. Tonight, I finish writing it myself. She walked out before he could respond. The restaurant was crowded. Perfect cover for a private conversation. Calloway was already there when she arrived. Corner table. Clear sight lines to every exit. A glass of wine in front of him like this was just a casual dinner between colleagues. Maya sat across from him. Lieutenant Reinhardt, thank you for coming. I'm here. Talk. He smiled. Leaned back in his chair. Direct. I appreciate that. He sipped his wine. Let me be equally direct. You've stumbled into something much larger than you understand. Something that's been operating for longer than you've been alive. And you have a choice to make. What choice? Join us. Or be destroyed by us. Maya kept her expression neutral. That's quite an offer. It's the only offer. The network you've been investigating isn't some rogue operation. It's a business, a very profitable business with very powerful clients. We provide information. They provide compensation. Everyone benefits. Except the Marines who die because you sold their patrol routes. Casualties of commerce, unfortunate but necessary. His eyes hardened. You want to pretend that what we do is different from what the government does every day. Trading lives for strategic advantage. At least we're honest about it. You call that honest. I call it realistic. The world isn't divided into heroes and villains, Lieutenant. It's divided into winners and losers. I'm offering you a chance to be a winner. Maya leaned forward. And if I say no, then you become a problem to be solved. Like Vance. Like Harper. Like everyone who's ever threatened to expose what we've built. He smiled coldly. You're good, Lieutenant. Very good. But you're not untouchable. No one is. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Maya held his gaze. Then here's another fact, Admiral. She reached up, touched her collar. made sure the wire was still transmitting. You just confessed to espionage conspiracy to commit murder and treason, on a recording that's currently being transmitted to CIA, FBI, and NCIS simultaneously. Calloway's smile froze. What? Did you really think I came here alone? Did you really think I was just a broken soldier looking for someone to follow? Maya stood up slowly. I'm Commander Maya Reinhardt, Navy SEAL Team 6, and you're under arrest. The restaurant doors burst open, tactical teams flooding in from every direction. Calloway's hand moved toward his jacket. Maya was faster. Her palm strike caught his wrist before he could reach his weapon. She twisted, applied pressure, heard bone cracking. He screamed. That's for the 8 Marines who died in Syria. She twisted harder. That's for every woman your operation destroyed to protect your secrets. Federal agents surrounded them, pulled Calloway's arms behind his back, read him his rights. Maya stepped back. And that's for my 23-year-old self, the one you would have broken if you'd had the chance. Calloway looked at her with hatred burning in his eyes. You think this is over? You think arresting me changes anything? The network will survive. Others will take my place. Maybe, but not today. Today you lose. They dragged him away. Maya watched until he disappeared through the restaurant doors. Then she sat down in his empty chair and let out a breath she'd been holding for 3 years. It was over. The man who'd enabled her attackers. The man who'd sold American lives. The man who'd built an empire on the suffering of people like her. Finished. Bull appeared beside her, put his hand on her shoulder. You did it. We did it. How do you feel? Maya thought about the question, really thought about it. Empty, she said finally. But the good kind of empty. Like I've been carrying something heavy for a long time and finally set it down. That's called closure. Is that what it is? She looked at him. I thought it would feel different, bigger, more triumphant. Real justice never feels triumphant. It just feels right, like something that should have happened finally did. Maya nodded slowly. What happens now? Now we take down the rest of them. 22 more targets, 12 installations, 18 months of work. Bull smiled. Unless you're tired of hunting. Maya stood up, straightened her jacket. I'm just getting started. 18 months later, Maya stood in a courtroom watching the last domino fall. Colonel James Patterson, the 23rd and final member of Harper's network, received his sentence with the same dead-eyed stare that all the others had worn. Life imprisonment without possibility of parole. His family wept in the gallery. His lawyers shuffled papers they knew were meaningless. Maya felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not triumph. Just the quiet certainty that justice, however slow, had finally arrived. Bull found her outside the courthouse. That's the last one. I know. How does it feel? Maya watched Patterson being led to a transport vehicle. Another traitor in handcuffs. Another broken link in a chain that had strangled American security for decades. Like I can finally breathe. They walked together through the crowds of reporters and cameras. Maya kept her head down. She'd refused every interview request, every book deal, every documentary proposal. The work spoke for itself. 23 convictions, 12 military installations cleaned of corruption, over $200 million in illegal payments traced and seized. And perhaps most importantly, comprehensive reforms implemented across the entire Department of Defense. Independent reporting systems, real accountability, protection for whistleblowers who spoke up about misconduct. The system that had failed her 3 years ago no longer existed. Director Walsh wants to see you, Bull said. Something about your future. My future. She has ideas. Come. CIA headquarters felt different now. Maya had been here dozens of times over the past 18 months, briefing operations, coordinating strikes, building cases. But this time something had shifted. People looked at her differently, not with suspicion or curiosity, but with respect. She'd earned that. Walsh was waiting in her office. Commander Reinhardt, thank you for coming. You said it was important. It is. Walsh gestured to a chair. Sit, please. Maya sat, waited. Task Force Reckoning is being disbanded, Walsh said. Officially, the mission is complete. Harper's network is destroyed. Every target has been neutralized. I know, I was there. You were more than there. You were the driving force behind every major success we achieved. Walsh leaned forward, which is why I want to offer you something. A job, a division, your own team, hand-picked operators, unlimited resources, permanent authorization to conduct the kind of operations you've been running for the past 18 months. Maya blinked. You want me to build a permanent unit? I want you to institutionalize what you've created. The methodology, the approach, the results. Walsh's eyes were intense. What happened with Harper's network wasn't unique. There are other networks, other traitors, other predators hiding behind rank and privilege. They need someone hunting them. Someone who knows how they operate. Someone who won't stop until they're exposed. And you think that's me? I think you're the only person who could do it. You understand the victims because you were one. You understand the predators because you've spent 3 years studying them. And you understand the system because you've learned how to work within it and around it when necessary. Maya was quiet for a long moment. 3 years ago, she'd been a broken woman standing on a rooftop ready to end everything. Now she was being offered the chance to lead a division dedicated to hunting the people who created victims like her. The symmetry was almost too perfect. What would I call it? Walsh smiled slightly. That's up to you. Maya thought about it. Thought about the rooftop, the darkness, the 7 words that had saved her life. Operation Ghost Protocol. We hunt in silence. We strike without warning. And we don't stop until the house is clean. Walsh nodded. I'll draw up the paperwork. The call came 3 days later. Maya was reviewing personnel files for her new team when her phone buzzed with a number she hadn't seen in months. Rachel Dawson. Rachel. Maya, I need you to come to Camp Pendleton, right now. Something in her voice set off alarms. What's wrong? Emily Torres. She's... Maya, you need to come. Please. Out. Maya drove through the night. 4 hours. No stops. Her mind racing through possibilities, none of them good. Rachel met her at the base entrance. Her face was pale, drawn, the look of someone who'd been crying and was trying very hard not to start again. What happened? Emily got married 6 months ago, a sergeant from another unit. Good man, treated her well. Rachel's voice cracked. He was deployed to Afghanistan last month. Routine patrol, IED. Maya's stomach dropped. He's dead. Killed instantly, along with 3 others. Rachel wiped her eyes. Emily got the notification 2 days ago. She hasn't left her quarters since. Won't eat, won't talk, won't respond to anyone. Did someone contact her family? Her mother flew in yesterday, but Emily won't see her either. She's just gone inside herself. Rachel looked at Maya desperately. I didn't know who else to call. You're the only one who ever got through to her, the only one she trusts. Maya started walking toward the barracks. Take me to her. Emily's quarters were small, cramped, the kind of space the military gave to junior enlisted personnel who hadn't earned anything better. Maya knocked gently, no response. She knocked again. Emily, it's Maya Reinhardt, I'm coming in. She opened the door slowly. Emily was sitting on the floor in the corner, knees pulled to her chest, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes were open but seeing nothing. Maya recognized that look. She'd worn it herself 3 years ago, standing on a rooftop looking down at concrete. She crossed the room quietly, sat down on the floor beside Emily, close enough to touch but not touching. Not yet. I heard about Michael. No response. I'm so sorry, Emily. I know that doesn't help. I know nothing anyone says helps right now. But I'm here, and I'm not leaving. Silence stretched between them. Then barely a whisper. I can't do this anymore. Maya's heart clenched. Can't do what? Any of it. Living, breathing, existing in a world that keeps taking everything from me. Emily's voice was hollow, empty. First the assault, then my career almost destroyed. Then I finally start to rebuild, finally find someone who makes me feel safe, and now he's gone. Everyone I love is gone. Everything I build gets destroyed. Emily finally looked at her. Her eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. What's the point, Maya? What's the point of surviving if surviving just means losing more? Maya reached out, took Emily's hand. I asked myself that same question 3 years ago, standing on a rooftop, looking down at concrete. Emily's hand tightened in hers. What answer did you find? I didn't. Not that night. That night, the only thing I found was someone who gave me a reason to step back from the edge. Maya squeezed her hand. Someone who told me that surviving could be an act of defiance, that living well was the best revenge against everyone who'd tried to break me. Who told you that? A man named Bull Thornton. He's the reason I'm still alive, the reason I became who I am. And now you're that person for me. If you'll let me be. Emily was quiet for a long moment. Tears started streaming down her face. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to keep going when everything hurts so much. You don't have to know how. You just have to keep breathing. 1 breath at a time. 1 minute at a time. 1 hour at a time. Maya pulled her closer. And when breathing feels impossible, you let someone else breathe for you until you remember how. Emily collapsed against her, sobbing. The deep racking sobs of someone who'd been holding everything in for too long. Maya held her, didn't speak, didn't try to fix anything, just held her and let her grieve. Sometimes that was all anyone could do. Hours passed. Emily cried until she had nothing left. Then she slept her head on Maya's shoulder, exhausted by the weight of loss. Maya didn't move, didn't let go. She stayed exactly where she was, being the anchor Emily needed. Rachel found them that way near dawn. Is she okay? She will be, eventually. Maya looked up. But she's going to need help, professional help, the kind I wasn't able to get 3 years ago. The new counseling services, Colonel Webb implemented them after you left. Then use them. Get Emily connected with someone who specializes in grief and trauma. Make sure she has support, real support, not just paperwork and platitudes. I will. Rachel hesitated. Maya, what you did tonight, driving all the way here, sitting with her for hours, that's not nothing. It's what someone did for me once. I'm just passing it forward. Emily stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, confused at first, then clearing. Maya, I'm here. You stayed. I told you I would. Emily sat up, wiped her face, looked at Maya with something that wasn't quite hope, but wasn't quite despair either. What do I do now? Now you get up, you take a shower, you eat something, and you start putting one foot in front of the other. Maya stood, helped Emily to her feet. You don't have to be okay. You don't have to pretend the pain isn't there. You just have to keep moving. And if I can't, then you call me, anytime, day or night, and I'll remind you that you're stronger than you think. Maya met her eyes. You survived Vance. You survived the system trying to destroy you. You'll survive this too, because that's who you are, Emily, a survivor. Emily nodded slowly. A survivor. Now go, shower, food, 1 step at a time. Emily walked toward the bathroom, stopped at the door. Maya, yeah, thank you for not giving up on me. Never, not ever. Till Maya drove back to Washington in silence. The sunrise painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. A new day beginning, a new chapter starting. She thought about Emily, about the darkness she'd seen in that young Marine's eyes, about how close she'd come to the same abyss 3 years ago. And she thought about what came next, the new division Walsh had offered her, Operation Ghost Protocol. A permanent team dedicated to hunting predators and protecting victims. It wasn't enough to take down networks. It wasn't enough to arrest traitors and convict criminals. The real work was what came after. The healing, the rebuilding, the slow, painful process of turning victims into survivors and survivors into warriors. That was the work that mattered. Bull was waiting at her apartment when she arrived. Heard you took a detour. Rachel called. Emily needed help. And you drove 8 hours round trip to provide it. Yeah. Bull studied her face. You look tired. I am tired. Want to talk about it? Maya dropped onto her couch, let her head fall back. I spent all night holding a woman who lost her husband, a woman who was ready to give up on everything, a woman who reminded me so much of myself that it hurt to look at her. Did you help her? I think so, for now. But there's going to be a tomorrow and another day after that, and she's going to have to find her own reasons to keep going. That's all anyone can do. Give people enough hope to make it through another day. The rest, they have to find themselves. Maya looked at him. Is that what you did for me, on that rooftop? I gave you 7 words. You did the rest. Those 7 words saved my life. No, you saved your life. I just reminded you it was worth saving. Maya was quiet for a moment. Walsh offered me a permanent position. My own team, authority to run operations indefinitely. I heard. You going to take it? I think so, but not the way she imagined it. What do you mean? Maya sat up, met his eyes. Taking down predators isn't enough. Exposing corruption isn't enough. The real mission is changing the culture, building systems that protect people before they get hurt, creating support structures for victims so they don't end up on rooftops wondering if jumping would hurt less than surviving. That's a bigger mission than hunting traitors. Yeah, it is. Maya paused. I want to build something permanent. Not just a team that takes down bad actors, but a program that prevents bad actors from existing in the first place. Training, education, prevention, intervention, the whole ecosystem. Bull smiled slowly. You're not talking about a tactical unit anymore. I'm talking about a legacy. Something that outlives me. Something that makes sure no one else has to go through what I went through. What Emily went through. What every victim of institutional failure has gone through. That's ambitious. So was surviving 3 years ago. So was taking down Harper's network. So was everything I've done since stepping back from that edge. Maya stood up. I've spent my whole life becoming dangerous. Now I want to spend the rest of it making sure danger protects the people who need it most. Bull rose from his chair, put his hands on her shoulders. You know what you're describing is going to take decades. It's going to mean fighting the same bureaucracies that failed you. Convincing people who don't want to change anyway. Battling institutional inertia every single day. I know. And you're going to face setbacks, failures, moments when it seems like nothing you do makes any difference. I know that too. Good. He squeezed her shoulders. Because that's exactly the kind of fight that needs someone like you. Someone who knows what it costs when the system fails. Someone who refuses to accept that broken is the only way things can be. Will you help me? Bull laughed, short, surprised. Help you, Maya? I've been waiting 3 years for you to ask that question. He released her shoulders. What do you need? Your experience, your contacts, your ability to navigate the political landscape without getting destroyed by it. And I need you to tell me when I'm going too far, when I'm pushing too hard, when I'm becoming the thing I'm fighting against. Maya's voice softened. You're the only person who's ever been able to call me on my bullshit. I'm gonna need that more than ever. Bull nodded slowly. Then you've got it. For as long as I'm breathing. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. Harder than SEAL training. Harder than combat. Harder than hunting Harper's network. He paused. But if anyone can do it, you can. Because I'm dangerous. Because you care. Because you remember what it felt like to be broken. And because you've proven over and over again that you're willing to sacrifice everything to protect people who can't protect themselves. 6 months later, Operation Ghost Protocol officially launched. Not as a tactical unit, not as an intelligence division, but as a comprehensive program designed to transform military culture from the inside out. Maya stood at the podium facing an audience of military leaders, politicians, survivors, and advocates. Her speech was short, direct, the same way she did everything. 3 years ago, I was assaulted by 3 men in uniform. I reported it. The system failed me. I almost ended my own life because I saw no other way out. Silence in the room. Today I'm standing here because someone gave me a reason to survive. Someone showed me that living well could be the greatest revenge against everyone who tried to break me. And I've spent every day since then trying to be that person for others. She looked at the faces watching her, some sympathetic, some skeptical, some hostile. This program isn't about punishment. It's about prevention. It's about creating a military culture where predators can't hide, where victims can speak up without fear of retaliation, where everyone, regardless of rank or gender or background, is protected by the system that claims to serve them. Emily Torres was in the front row, no longer hollow-eyed and desperate, still grieving, still healing, but present, alive, fighting her way back to wholeness one day at a time. Maya caught her eye. Emily nodded. I know this won't be easy. I know there will be resistance. I know some of you in this room think I'm naive or idealistic, or fighting a battle that can't be won. Maya's voice hardened. But I've heard that before. I heard it when I applied for SEAL training. I heard it when I started hunting Harper's network. I heard it every single time I tried to change something that powerful people wanted to keep the same. She leaned forward. And I'm still here, still fighting, still refusing to accept that broken is the only way things can be. Applause started somewhere in the back, spread forward, grew louder. Maya waited for it to fade. Operation Ghost Protocol starts today. We're going to build something permanent, something that outlives all of us, something that makes sure the next generation of service members never has to stand on a rooftop wondering if jumping would hurt less than surviving. She stepped back from the podium. Because every person in uniform deserves to be protected by the people they serve with, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure that's true. Bull found her after the ceremony. His face was wet. He was pretending it wasn't. Good speech. It was terrifying. You didn't look terrified. I'm good at hiding it. Maya smiled slightly. Learned it from the best. They walked together through the corridors, past photographs of military leaders throughout history, past memorials to those who'd sacrificed everything in service to their country. You know what I keep thinking about, Bull said. What, that rooftop, 3 years ago, the darkness, the concrete below. He stopped walking. If I hadn't found you that night, if I'd been 5 minutes later or walked a different direction or decided to stay in bed. But you didn't. No, I didn't. He looked at her. And now because of that one moment, thousands of people are going to be protected. Lives are going to be saved. The entire culture of the military is going to start changing. That's the point, isn't it? One person makes a difference. Then that person makes a difference for someone else. And on forever. The ripple effect. The only kind of legacy that matters. Bull put his hand on her shoulder, squeezed once. I'm proud of you, Maya. More proud than I know how to say. I couldn't have done any of this without you. Sure you could. You just would have taken a different path to get here. Maybe, but I like this path better. They resumed walking. So what's next? Bull asked. The program is launched. The speeches are made. What do you actually do now? Now the real work begins. Building the infrastructure, training the personnel, fighting the daily battles that turn policy into practice. Maya paused. And hunting. There's always more hunting to do. The predators don't stop just because you gave a nice speech. No, they don't. Which is why we don't stop either. They reached the exit, stepped into sunlight. One more question, Bull said. Yeah. The call sign. Phantom. Are you going to keep using it? Maya thought about it. Thought about who she'd been when she earned that name. A ghost who left nothing behind except silence and the permanent absence of dangerous men. She was still that person. Would always be that person. But she was something else now, too. Yes, she said finally. But I'm adding something to it. What? Phantom 1. First of many. Because I'm not going to be the only ghost anymore. Maya looked at the sky, the future spreading out in front of her like an ocean of possibility. I'm going to build an army of them. Survivors who became hunters. Victims who became protectors. Ghosts who refused to stay buried. An army of ghosts. The most dangerous kind there is. The kind that never stops haunting until the house is clean. Bull laughed. A real laugh. Full of warmth and pride and something that might have been hope. God help the predators. God help them indeed. They walked together into the future. A master sergeant who'd saved a life with 7 words. And a Navy SEAL who'd transformed that salvation into something permanent. The hunt would continue. The work would never truly be finished. There would always be more rot to expose, more systems to reform, more victims to protect. But that was fine. Maya Reinhardt had spent 26 years becoming dangerous. Now she would spend the rest of her life making sure that danger served the people who needed it most. Some ghosts carried unfinished business. Some ghosts became legends. And some ghosts became the silent reckoning that evil men feared in the darkness. The silent reckoning had only just begun.